Practice is Perfect by Casino Fox. Romance? Rainbow Dash couldn't hold back a small smirk as she repeated the word. The alicorn seated in front of her noticed this, matching it with a frown of her own. Really? You? Yes, me! Twilight deadpanned. Why was it so hard to imagine her finally finding her own special sun pony? Celestia knows how many books she's read due to her near constant work, so she never really had the time nor energy to get out there and find the stallion, or mare, to spend quality time with. Now that she'd been finishing her daily work early, she decided it was finally time to do so. But for some reason, every pony seemed to think she was making a joke, and in her opinion, way too many of them thought it was funny. She shifted uncomfortably on the cloud the two were sharing, suddenly finding her hooves very interesting. I figured since you're probably more experienced in the area, you could help me? Oh, more experienced? Sure, the Pegasus had been on a few dates, but she could probably count them on her own hooves. Surely Twilight had been on at least one. What did you want to know? Well, Twilight looked away, a faint blush growing on her muzzle. I was hoping for some advice on my first date with some pony. She willed herself to look back at Rainbow again, but the Pegasus appeared distracted. You, a date? Rainbow blinked. Insert another eye roll here. Yes, I'm going on a date. Was she really that introverted? Maybe she should have done this sooner. With who? Twilight froze, feeling her face heat up even more. She wasn't expecting to have to give specifics, especially to Rainbow Dash of all ponies. Rarity was usually the one to gossip, and Rainbow was practically her polar opposite. I'd rather not say, Rainbow. She almost regretted withholding the information upon seeing the hurt in her friend's eyes, but decided it was for the best. Rainbow stared at her for a moment longer, then flattened her ears and turned her head slightly. Oh. Twilight averted her eyes and coughed. Anyway, her voice wavered, I really don't know what I mean, like, she gave Rainbow an awkward smile. I have absolutely no idea what to do. The Pegasus fluttered her wings softly and gave a long, contemplative sigh. Just, I don't know. Be yourself. Twilight simply stared at her, and Rainbow realized how vague that sounded. And talk, she continued. About stuff. After another long pause, Rainbow rubbed the back of her head with a hoof. Look, I really don't know how to explain what you should do on a date. The pair sat thinking for a few minutes until Rainbow suddenly grinned, a light bulb going off over her head. Wait, what? Twilight stared up at a pink pony suspended from some balloons, holding a bulb above the blue Pegasus. Pinky, go away. Pinky retracted her hoof, pulling the object away, and floated off with a shrug. So, Rainbow, did you actually have an idea? Yeah, I did. Maybe we could go on some sort of practice date. Practice date. Twilight sounded the words out in her head. A date just didn't seem like the kind of thing that could be practiced. Yeah, I can show you what to do way more easily than I can tell you right here. Rainbow reasoned. She almost seemed eager, though Twilight couldn't understand why. Come on, I'll even pay like your real date will. Seeing the Pegasus so determined to help her, Twilight gave in. Well, okay, she agreed. The alicorn smiled, soon joined by her friend. Sweet! Rainbow pumped her hoof in the air. Okay, how about we meet around 6? At that new place, Howborough's. Sounds good, Twilight affirmed with a nod. Thanks for helping me out, Rainbow. It means a lot to me. Hey, what are friends for? Rainbow smiled, though to Twilight it seemed a bit off somehow. I'm just glad to be there when I'm needed. I don't have these brilliant ideas every day, you know. Right, brilliant. Twilight made air quotes with her hooves on the word brilliant. And Rainbow rolled her eyes. I mean, I guess it can't hurt. After all, practice makes perfect. Rainbow Dash smiled as she strolled down the street leading up to the restaurant. I can't believe she actually said yes! She nearly started skipping like a filly, but caught herself just in time. Rainbow Dash, does not skip. Calm down, Rainbow. It's just a practice. Nothing to get all riled up about. Not real. The Pegasus shook her wings out and snapped them back to her sides, trying to relax as she approached the building. Still, she thought, as she pushed through the doors, this is probably the closest I'll ever get. Smoothing down her neatly combed mane, the mare was greeted by a grey earth pony, who promptly showed her to a seat, where her guest was already waiting. Hey, Twy, how long have you been here? 7 minutes, 28 seconds exactly. When Rainbow gave her a strange look, Twilight blushed. You said 6 o'clock? So I was here at 6 o'clock. Oh, okay. Rainbow shrugged and slid sideways into her half of the booth. I guess being on time is good for a date. Sorry to keep you waiting. Don't worry about it. Twilight laughed nervously. Rainbow studied the alicorn and noticed she was sweating, and occasionally her eyes flickered between Rainbow and the table. Don't be so nervous, Twilight. It's just a practice. Rainbow lightly gripped Twilight's hoof in her own, causing them both to retract theirs from the table, and their faces reddened. Sorry. That's okay, Twilight chirped, forcing a smile. So, do we talk about stuff right now? Actually, we should probably figure out what we're going to order first. But yeah, after that. Both of them opened their menus and scanned through them, eventually settling on their choices. Before long, the waiter showed up and to take their orders. Being uncharacteristically polite, Rainbow motioned for Twilight to go first. Okay. I'll have the lasagna Alfredo with salad and some water. After the waiter finished scribbling down the details, he turned to Rainbow. I'll have a small pizza with pepperoni and onions. Oh, and an apple cider. The pony continued waiting for another moment, then smiled at the pair and told them that their drinks and salad would be out in a moment. As he walked away, Twilight pulled out a small stack of cards from under the table and neatly shuffled them around. What are you doing? Twilight stopped fiddling with the cards and met Rainbow's confused gaze. Just preparing my notes. Rainbow face-hoofed as the alicorn resumed organising and reorganising. Twy, you don't use note cards at a date. Twilight held her note cards to her chest. But how will I know what to say? You just talk! Rainbow nearly yelled, exasperated. About what? Ugh, it's whatever you want. Rainbow dropped her forehead onto the table with a thump. I mean, come on, Twilight, it's not hard. Okay, Twilight frowned, thinking of anything she would want to talk about. Before long, she had come up with her favourite topic, science. Well, just yesterday, I finally disproved my earlier theory on the possibilities of reinforcing wings with brass. Originally, I thought it would be a great choice, but it turns out that it was just a little bit too inflexible. I'm thinking nitol might work out better, but I'm not sure if that's... Twy, Rainbow waved a hoof to cut off the alicorn's rambling. I'm not sure your date will want to talk about sciencey stuff. But you said... I know what I just said. Rainbow suddenly felt very self-conscious and looked away. They might not understand everything you say, alright? Oh. Twilight noticed the Pegasus' awkward demeanour and mentally slapped herself. Of course Rainbow wouldn't want to talk about that kind of thing. Not that I think she's stupid, but, well, she shook her head to clear her thoughts and searched for a new topic of conversation. Luckily, Rainbow was apparently full of ideas and beat her to the punch. Well, have you worked on your flying recently? Twilight smiled. Oh, yes, actually. I tried out my anemometer myself just a few days ago. I made it up to 3.8 wing power. She clapped her hooves giddily and stared at Rainbow with bright, proud eyes. Rainbow's forced smile turned into a genuine one at Twilight's excited face, despite her score being, well, downright pitiful. Great job, Twy. Soon enough, maybe we can have a race. Twilight laughed. Well, I doubt it. Sounds like fun, though. What about you? Have you been reading much? Just daring do. I swear, those books never get old. Rainbow leaned back in her chair and sighed. I must have read each one of them 5 times already. You'd think I'd get sick of them by now, but no. Well, maybe I can interest you in something new sometime. Twilight watched her friend hopefully. Maybe some astrophysics or microbiology or, ooh, how about some aerodynamics? Or perhaps you'd like... Twilight, Rainbow called softly, and then the alicorn halted her chattering and stared at her. After a moment she blushed and giggled, making Rainbow's heart flutter and her smile widen. Sorry. No problem. Maybe some other time, she added as a response to Twilight's suggestion. Wait, really? The alicorn stared at her with wide eyes, and Rainbow snorted. No. Rainbow chuckled as a smile fell off Twilight's face and was replaced by an annoyed scowl. Eventually, though, she joined in, and the two of them soon found themselves wiping tears from their eyes. As the night wore on, the couple, no, just friends, they reminded themselves, began to loosen up dramatically in comparison to the awkward prelude, now forgotten, and the real mentoring could begin. Okay, you've got the mindless chit-chat in the bag. Lesson 2, table manners. Rainbow grabbed a slice of her pizza and began folding it up. First off, don't play with your food. She held up the pizza in her hoof, now in the shape of a pyramid. Second, take small, clean bites, shoving the whole slice into her mouth. She wiped a smudge of grease from her cheek. And third, don't talk with your mouth full. After chewing for a few seconds, she swallowed, with some difficulty. Kind of annoying, right? Yeah, kind of, Twilight muttered, wiping a half-chewed bit of cheese from her face. Well, other than that, it looks like the eating style is okay. Rainbow grabbed another slice of pizza and began eating it, this time much more slowly. Twilight took a few more bites of food and became worried when no further conversation took place. I suppose be saying something? No, you don't have to talk as much while you're actually eating. Otherwise, you risk talking with your mouth full, which again doesn't look too good. Oh, okay. Twilight sighed in relief. So far, she appeared to be doing it fairly well, or at least for her first time. Unfortunately, she didn't notice what was going on under the table until something soft brushed against the inside of her thigh, and she gave off an odd squeak of surprise. Lesson 3. Learn to control your wings. Rainbow grabbed another slice of pizza and pointed it at a red-faced Twilight, who was busily trying to push down her stiff wings with her hooves. They will screw you over, and everybody knows what it means, she trailed off, looking at Twilight's unruly appendages. Well, when that happens. Got it, Twilight's voice cracked. Once the alicorn had managed to contain herself, Rainbow smirked. Impressive wingspan, by the way. Shut up. Next, posture. Rainbow Dash sat up with as much poise as she could muster. Twilight had to admit she had never seen a laid-back Pegasus looking so fine. Back straight as an arrow, hind legs parallel, chin up, not too high, mind you, don't want to appear snobby, and chest out. Look proud, but not cocky, elegant, but not... She waved her hoof in a circle, looking for the right word. Well, not Canterlot. Let's see it. Twilight did her best to imitate the stature of her friend, and Rainbow peered at her quietly. Not bad, she muttered after a moment. Your back's straight, but try not to lean forward so much at the hip, and your chin can just be a little bit higher. Twilight made these adjustments, and Rainbow smirked. There, looking good now. Twilight's cheeks tinted a light shade of pink before Rainbow continued. Okay, so we've covered small talk, manners, wings. She smirked at Twilight at this point, who frowned and shrunk down slightly in her chair, and posture. She tapped her hoof against the chin, trying to think of anything she could be forgetting, but came up with nothing. Okay, well it looks like you're done. Twilight glanced down at her now empty plate. And I'm pretty full. Twilight noticed Rainbow Dash had finished nearly 3/4 of her pizza, and was rubbing her swollen belly gently. Twilight squeezed her eyes shut. Stop that, stupid brain. Rainbow didn't notice her friend's internal struggles, and motioned to the waiter, who came by with the bill. She paid, as promised, with a little objection from Twilight, but thanks to another one of Rainbow's quick lessons, which was to protest, but soon accept, the offer with a polite thank you. Leaving a generous tip, Rainbow led the alicorn out into the late evening, where they walked on the edge of Ponyville, and gazed between the mountains and the moon hanging low in the sky. This just feels right, Rainbow thought with a content smile. Hey, this almost feels like a real date. At that thought, Rainbow's expression changed to one of dread. Uh-oh. She quietly flicked her gaze across the moonlit landscape and to the alicorn sitting comfortably next to her. Yep, this is way too much like a real date. Fearing Twilight would come to a similar realization any minute, Rainbow decided to add one final lesson to her tutoring session. Clearing her throat, she turned towards the alicorn at her side. Now, at the end of the date, If you and this other pony have really hit it off, you might go in for a kiss. Twilight's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. Get it? Because they were eating... Sorry. Really? So soon? To some, such an action might have seemed way over the top for a first date, and Twilight Sparkle was no exception. Rainbow Dash, however, brushed the question off. Yeah, I mean, if you two really like each other, and you should totally go for it, and if not, it's not like you've ruined anything that could go somewhere. Twilight considered Rainbow's reasoning, nodding as it sunk in. Besides, kisses never hurt any pony. I guess so. Twilight was still unsure. But how do I mean, her face was practically burning up now. Like, what? Look, you just... like this. Rainbow closed her eyes and leaned forward ever so slightly, loosely puckering her lips. And then... Wow. Rainbow opened her eyes to come literally face to face with Twilight, who was leaning quite close, eyes shut tight with her own kisser ready. Rainbow had to resist every fibre of her being, her insides screaming out to her just to close the gap and do it already. But she barely managed to will herself not to. Instead, she resumed her upright position, eyes darting around, while her face lit up bright red. Twi? She whispered. Twilight opened her eyes, suddenly realizing she was leaning just a little too eagerly towards her friend. She met Rainbow Dash's nervous gaze with her own, and the Pegasus gulped. Just to practice, remember? Twilight blinked at the shaky voice and leaned back, bringing a hoof to her face to hide the blush, but put all others from this practice date to shame. Right, she stammered, plucking down on her rear. Sorry. Feeling tremendously embarrassed, she was seriously considering a teleportation spell. Maybe along with a memory wipe, or perhaps it would just be easier to blow herself to pieces right then and there. Yes, that would most definitely be easier. Don't sweat it. Rainbow's eyes glimmered with amusement, and a hint of disappointment, gone unnoticed by the alicorn in front of her. But your actual date will kiss you back. You know, probably. Right, Twilight muttered again. Sorry. I just, got caught up in it all. She waved her hoof around to indicate the setting they were in. No worries. I gotcha. Rainbow Dash smiled and fixed her gaze on the moon, then suddenly turned to Twilight, feeling curious. So, Twi, who is the lucky pony anyways? Do I know them? Twilight's muzzle scrunched up uneasily. I sort of, yes. Rainbow watched her for a few seconds, and then slowly turned her head forwards. Come on, Twi, you can tell me. No. I'm not so sure I can. Twilight's ears dropped as she scuffed the dirt with her hooves. Look, Rainbow, I don't even know if it will go anywhere. Hey, it probably won't even happen at all. What makes you say that? Rainbow stared at her in shock. This is Twilight we're talking about. How could even one day possibly not happen? Well, first of all, I haven't even asked her out yet, Twilight admitted sheepishly. The first words registered in Rainbow's mind were, haven't asked out yet. She blinked. What? Then the Pegasus finally recognized the word her and blinked again. Wait, what? She shook her head vigorously. I mean, what? The alicorn lowered her head. Yeah, I just, you can never be too prepared, right? Rainbow Dash was no genius, but even she could detect the sorrow in that voice. Shaky as the action was, she scooted closer to the alicorn, resting a hoof on her shoulder. Twilight, what's going on? I can't. Twilight was struggling for words, and could no longer find the strength to continue. Oh, Rainbow, I'm such an idiot sometimes. She turned and buried her face in the Pegasus' shoulders, tears leaking from her eyes and soaking the blue fur pressed against them. Rainbow quietly patted her on the back, growing antsier by the second, as she thought to think of some way to just make everything all better for the purple pony. Well, she began. Every pony is. Twilight, that's what makes life so hard. You can't just control it at the right time. I don't care how hard you try, you can't be absolutely flawless 24/7. When her constellations appeared ineffective, she frowned up at the sky. Twi, what's wrong? Is it something I said? She really hoped it wasn't the case. To imagine that whatever had the alicorn so depressed could be because of her was unthinkable. Rainbow strained her ears as she felt Twilight twist her head and let out a few incoherent sobs. Over the sniffling and whimpering, she could just barely make out a short, fearful cry. She'll hate me. Hate you? Rainbow scoffed. For what? No pony can hate you, Twi. But it'll be weird. Twilight wailed. I never asked if she's single, or even if she likes me that way. Twilight brought both forehooves up to cover her face. I don't even know if you like mares, and I'm already planning a date. I'm not even attractive. How could I have assumed this would all just work out? And it never does. Oh, Twilight, Rainbow sighed. I'm sure it'll... Rainbow suddenly cut herself off, her mouth frozen halfway open, while she repeated Twilight's statement over and over again in her head. I don't even know if you like mares. If you like mares. Wait, she choked. Back up. If I like mares. Twilight's eyes snapped open as she jerked away and did a double take at the wide-eyed Pegasus. What? Did I just say that? I said you, didn't I? No, I couldn't have. No way. This is not happening! You. Rainbow stood shocked still, her eyes glued to her friend, who was desperately trying to wrench her own gaze away. You said... She! Twilight yelped. I said she. Her face now approaching a deep burgundy hue. She stared straight through the mountains and looked up at the moon, where she swore she could see the image of Luna, practically laughing her flank off. Twilight, said Alicorn, flinched as her voice met her ears. She braced herself for the inevitable question. Is this she you're talking about? Me? Even though she had been expecting them, those words still made her shrink in on herself. Her throat clenched up. She could only give a tiny whimper in response. Maybe? Rainbow, who was now just out of view of the trembling mare, smiled breathlessly. Twilight. Twilight sighed shakily, hunching over. Oh, Rainbow, I can't do this anymore. It is you. It's always been you. You're so funny and fast and cute and loyal, and you're always there when I need you most. And I really like hanging out with you, especially on reading days. And now I'm just a total mess. She held her head in her hooves, trembling as her body was racked with sobs. Wiping the tears away, she turned her head just enough to glimpse the blurry blue pony in the corner of her eye. There, I told you. Okay? Happy now? Rainbow was silent, her smile stretching wider as the revelation sunk in. There were no words to express how she felt at the moment. If there were, however, she wouldn't have gotten any further than a yes before squealing gleefully. As it was, she pounced on the Alicorn from the side, tackling her to the ground. Twilight's surprised squeaks were muffled as Rainbow Dash pressed her lips down firmly against Twilight's own, feeling as if fireworks were going off throughout her entire body. Twilight, on the other hoof, was instantly overcome by a rush of confusion and pleasure. The pleasure quickly won out, though, and her eyes slowly slid shut as she lost herself in a moment. But confusion. This was what they had both been waiting for all night, and she wasn't about to spoil it. Neither of them noticed or remembered that Rainbow Dash had just eaten an onion-smothered pizza. Eventually, to both ponies' dismay, they had come up for air. They separated, albeit reluctantly, and as their eyes cracked open again, they remained in that position. It crossed both their minds just how beautiful the other's eyes appeared in the moonlight, but only as a fleeting thought, as both of their heads were still fuzzy with lingering excitement. You have no idea how long I've wanted to do that, Rainbow giggled, elated. She rolled off the purple alicorn and onto the ground next to her, but they both lay, facing each other. Does that answer your question? Twilight couldn't believe it. The mare of her dreams felt the same way about her. This was the kind of thing that only ever happened in her ponytails. Well, this really is a dream. I'd better not be waking up anytime soon. Twilight, are you okay? Rainbow's concerned voice cut through the haze in her mind. No, I'm terrific, Twilight replied. I just can't believe this is all really happening. Neither can I, Rainbow chuckled nervously. It all seems just too good to be true. But this is more real than any dream I've ever had. She immediately took in a heavy blush and squirmed on the ground. Not that I have dreams about you or anything. At least, not those kind of dreams, she added quickly. Twilight giggled and at the flustered Pegasus, her face soon softening into a more solemn expression. Dash, why did you never say anything? She asked sadly. Well, Rainbow Dash's smile flattened out and the spark in her eyes died down. To be honest, I was really scared. Rainbow Dash? Scared? Twilight smirks, blinking slowly. I don't believe it for a second. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know you swung that way till just now, and, well, what kind of friend would I be to ask you out when you're planning to ask some pony else out? That would be like declaring my love for Spike as he's walking out the door to ask Rarity on a date. Rainbow shook her head gently. Not cool. Besides, you can't tell me you weren't scared. Oh, well, of course I was, Twilight admitted. You probably gathered that from my little slip-up a minute ago. She and Rainbow shared a laugh at that remark. I just meant that I wish we could have had the courage to do it this sooner. Rainbow nodded quietly. Well, better late than never, I suppose. Except I hate being late. I know, Twilight. I know. Every pony knows. The pair lay under the starry night sky in silence, simply basking in the glow of the moon and relishing each other's company. After a while, Twilight took a deep breath and broke the silence. Rainbow Dash, she murmured, her eyes soft. Will you be my special sun pony? As sappy as that phrase is, Twi, Rainbow grinned, but this time it wasn't her usual one of confidence, cockiness, and charm. No, this was an expression that she couldn't hold back. A loving smile, so large it simply couldn't be contained by her two lips. I'd love to. Twilight squeaked. Yee! Are you the special sun pony? She let out a few bubbly giggles that could have melted Rainbow Dash into a puddle, and the Pegasus gently pulled her closer, nuzzling her jaw, with her eyes squinted shut. Yep, she confirmed, and I can't wait for our second date. Twilight gasped, her eyes sparkling. You mean? I officially considered this our first one, Rainbow declared proudly. She fixed Twilight with an expectant look. So, tell me, how was Twilight Sparkle's first date? The Alicorn reached her thoughts back to the moment she had seen the Pegasus step inside the restaurant. The split second they held hooves, their friendly chatting, the instant with her wings, the peaceful, moonlit stroll they had been on up to this point, and the fact that Rainbow Dash had encouraged her the whole way, paying her compliments, never doubting that she could do whatever she put her mind to. As she gazed into those vibrant, rose-coloured eyes, her own smiling, thoughtful face reflected in them, Twilight could only describe her experience in one simple word. Perfect.